So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today, welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, September 29th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. I know I did. Hopefully you did as well and is having a good start to your day today. Very excited. I'm usually not this excited on a Tuesday, but it is the start of the MLB playoffs. Big day for the MLB. Big day for the Yankees. Big day for baseball fans. Very, very, very exciting. We got through the 60-game season, and there are now 16 teams left. And they all have in one goal, and that is to bring home that World Series championship trophy. That is their one goal. It is officially the start of October baseball. 2 days away from October baseball still. I like to call it postseason, even if it's in September. I still like to call it October baseball. So it is officially the start of the postseason today. As a matter of fact, the first game is going to kick off in just a little bit. By the time this podcast goes up, it's already probably being played. I will watch the first game. I'll probably watch all the games. I'll probably flip and switch between the first two games. So it's going to be the 2 o'clock game, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. And there's also a 5 o'clock game. So I'll probably flip on and off between the 2 o'clock and the 3 o'clock. And then the 5 o'clock should be on its own. And then the Yankees cap off the day with baseball with a 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game on ESPN. So by the time this podcast is up, you'll probably be already watching the game, but when I'm doing this podcast, the game isn't on yet, so by the time it's up, though, it will be on. But just know that I am watching the games, the first two games, and then probably the 5 o'clock game with the Blue Jays and the Rays, I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, I'll be watching the Yankees-Indians game, which is obviously the game. You could tell by my jersey. I'm wearing my Garrett Cole jersey. You could tell, obviously, the Yankees game is what I'm most excited for, although I am just glad to see postseason baseball. You ask the players, I'm sure some of them didn't even think they might get to this point where you would be playing postseason baseball. It is great news. It is exciting news. I'm excited. Hopefully you are as well. We'll be covering it all today on the podcast. So this is what we got for the podcast. We got the Monday night game yesterday. Chiefs did win. I got my pick correct. We'll be talking about that, talk about some fantasy football stuff. And then we'll get into Yankees playoff, the MLB playoff bracket, and then we'll preview the games today. I'll go through all the games. Tomorrow I'll go through all the games. Then to cap it off, we're getting shorter. We used to have Yankees, Mets, Islanders. Now we have Yankees Stanley Cup, and the Stanley Cup is done. Lightning win it. We'll talk about that later on the podcast, and then after today, it's really just Yankees, and then the other playoff games. So really, we're getting shorter. That last topic was packed a couple weeks ago, and now it's only really down to the Yankees. So, which isn't a bad thing, but it is kind of funny how a couple weeks ago it was Yankees, Mets, Islanders, college football, all that stuff. Everything was packed in there. Now it's really just down to the Yankees. And then I'll talk about the MLB playoffs as well. But, so that's kind of the final topic. But with all that being said, this is the BSN Network podcast, and let's get right into it. So I know I just highlighted that today is going to be a big, big baseball day. It is. Pretty much the first topic is going to be the Monday night game, and then the rest of the topics are going to be, it's really just one topic. It's going to be, I'm going to review my playoff bracket. I always fill out a bracket. I did one for the MLB. I did one for the NHL. I did one for the NBA, and now I'm doing one for the MLB. I think I do one for the NFL as well, but did I say MLB? I think I did. I meant to say NFL, NBA. I meant to say whatever. I'm doing my playoff bracket, so we'll talk about that in the second topic, plus the Yankees, plus the games on today, which should be exciting. Actually, I'm going to flip, I think, the games on today. Yeah, so all right, so on our last topic, it will just be the MLB playoff games. So those are the topics. So really, today is a big baseball day. Obviously, it is the kickoff of the playoffs, but I am going to be talking a little bit of football. As last night, let's get right into it here. As last night, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Baltimore Ravens 34-20. The Chiefs dominated from the start. I would say the Chiefs really played well from the start. The Ravens, to say the very least, looked lost. They just weren't the Baltimore Ravens I think a lot of us expected to, and I actually felt really surprised. A lot of people, not people I knew, but just a lot of people in general, like, I mean, people even I knew, not like personally knew, but, knew over the TV. Even, I think all the broadcasters of Monday Night Football, the pregame show, and then the broadcasters of the game, I think they all predicted the Ravens to win. Like, everybody had the Ravens to win. I don't know if you noticed this, but when you're watching the pregame, it gives you America's pick, which is the pick for people. It's the overall, the fans and stuff who pick the game. They picked 51% of them picked 51% picked the Ravens. The 49% picked the Chiefs. I was really surprised that people had the Ravens winning over the Chiefs. I mean, they're the Chiefs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was really surprised. And when I was sitting there watching the pregame show and stuff, and I obviously watched the game. When I was sitting there watching the pregame show, it was so odd. I was like, did I really, mess up my pick? Like, I was like, I picked the Chiefs, but I'm like, why is everybody taking the Ravens? Like, is this really true? Like, I thought for sure people would be like we're watching pretty much the same exact Chiefs team we saw last year in the Super Bowl, and they took home the trophy. Like, took home the Lombardi Trophy. I was a little confused. Like, am I really watching this? I think a lot of people got caught up in the whole Chiefs-Chargers game last week, how the Chiefs barely won. It took them pretty much, their kicker helped them out big time, who actually struggled yesterday. Harrison Butker struggled yesterday. I needed him to do well, and he struggled. I ended up losing in that fantasy league. But if you follow what I'm saying, like, I was sitting there, and I was actually sitting there, like, kind of laughing to myself. I was like, did I, like, make the wrong pick? I was like, am I missing something here? Like, I feel like I sound a little crazy for now picking the Chiefs. I was like, no, that can't be. I'm picking the Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs. Like, I don't know why everybody was taking the Ravens. I mean, I guess that's just their opinion, but I thought for sure the Chiefs would be favorites, especially Mahomes and Jackson against each other. Mahomes is, I'm pretty sure, 2-0. So that just goes to show you, first off, okay, that helps out. And that's actually one of my things I put in yesterday. It was like, Mahomes is 2-0 against Jackson. I think he's just going to only continue that. So he did. Mahomes played well, 34-20. The Chiefs got off to a quick start, to say the very least. I mean, they went into the half and they were pretty good. I mean, the Chiefs got off to a little bit of a decent start. The second quarter they erupted. The second quarter is where the Chiefs won the game. The Ravens, first quarter was 6-3. Okay, nothing special. All right. Ravens kicked the field goal. Chiefs got a touchdown, missed the extra point. Okay, it's 6-3, right? Now, Ravens are still, it's not, the game's not over. The game ain't over, right? It's 6-3. So, coming out of that first quarter, the Ravens definitely looked, they didn't look good. They didn't look bad either, but they didn't look good. They looked meh. They didn't look anything, they didn't look horrible. They didn't look good. They looked meh. That's just also the first quarter. We only saw them, 2-3 drives, so you can't judge everything off of the first quarter. It was in the second quarter, though, where you really got to see, okay, this is the Chiefs ball game. The Chiefs absolutely went off. They scored 21 points in the second quarter. They went into the half 27-10, and it was almost just like it got to the point where it was just like, yeah, the Chiefs are winning this game. Like, there's no way they're coming back. The Chiefs dominated the second quarter, and that's where the Ravens in the second quarter looked, like I just said before. In the first quarter, they looked meh. Second quarter, they looked bad. They didn't look good. They didn't look bad. They didn't look meh. They looked horrible in the second quarter. 7 points to 21 to what a lot of people think, and I do too, is a very good defense. You're also betting against the Chiefs offense. So the Chiefs dominated in the second quarter. They looked real good. 27-10 going into the half. As me, I was hoping the Chiefs would win so that I could get my game pick right. Going into the half, I was feeling pretty confident. Okay, this is the Chiefs ball game. The Ravens come out in the second half, and they got some sort of new energy in them. It almost seems like they got that little energy in them. Like, they come out, and I didn't get nervous, but they definitely came out and did make it a little bit more competitive in the second half. They kicked the field goal. They drove all the way downfield. They weren't able to get the touchdown. Jackson threw a beautiful pass to Mark Andrews. He dropped it. They weren't able to get a touchdown, but I think that was their first real drive where they really just felt like they really were dominating. They got down the field. They scored they kicked the field goal. It was 27-13. So right there, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, nothing special. It did get to the point where you were like, okay, I think that was the most normal the Ravens have looked all day to what we are used to seeing out of the Ravens. That's probably the most normal. They were driving downfield. They were running a lot. They mixed it up a tad bit towards the end with that Mark Andrews throw. They ran it some more. They did some of these, jet sweeps and these, fake plays. And that was the most normal the Ravens did. And as a person watching that game, I was like, okay, this might be the Ravens half because that was coming right out of the half. Somebody, obviously in the locker room, something was said. They come out of the half with a little added energy. Yes, they only kicked the field goal, but it was a positive. At least it was a positive. The whole first half was pretty much a negative. At least you start off the second half with at least a positive. Yes, you didn't get a touchdown, but you kicked the field goal. I know you drove all the way downfield, but how bad they've been playing that whole game, it was at least a positive. And their defense stepped up in the third quarter too. Their defense, and this is where I think the second half turns into a negative, is because their defense had multiple big stops, and the offense couldn't convert. And that's why I think, they start off the half with a positive, they end it with a negative, because you had multiple times the defense stepped up in big moments against a big-time offense, against a big-time team, against a big-time quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. Multiple times they stepped up and made big plays at big moments, and they stopped them. And the Ravens offense wasn't able to take those stops and turn it into points. That was a big problem. Then you go into the third quarter, Ravens score, make it a one-score game. At that point, I'm really thinking, this is just kind of garbage scores by now. This is scores for pride. Chiefs score again. Chiefs win 34-20. Ravens offense was the true low in this game. If you would ask me what disappointed you the most out of the Ravens, was their offense. Their defense, yeah, they let up 34 points, but their offense didn't help them either. I thought for sure this was going to be a shootout. So I actually expected them to allow one more point. I expected it to be 35-31. It was 34-20. So, he connects on that field goal. It's 35-20. But, I think they played pretty well for going up against the number one offense in the league. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns. He went absolutely off. But I think that's pretty obvious that they, especially late in the game, too. Mahomes is throwing 4 touchdowns, and in the third quarter, you stop them. You stopped them in the third quarter. They scored 0 points in the third quarter. You were able to stop them. But yet the Chiefs were just not able, or the Ravens, were not able to come up. Their offense was not able to come up in big moments and make big plays. Their defense did, their offense didn't. So if I had a choice, what was the reason why the Ravens lost? A lot of people could say the defense because they almost let up 40 points. I say the offense. The offense looked flat. Jackson looked flat. Mark Ingram was normal. Mark Ingram in 2020, nothing special. I don't even know if he got a touchdown. He had 7 attempts for 30 yards. Mark Ingram was normal. Mark Ingram. Jackson struggled. He took 4 sacks too. I think overall the Chiefs dominated. To say the very least, I think the Chiefs dominate. After coming out of that going into the second half, going into half, they're up 27-10. Come out of the second half and they kick that field goal. You have somewhat of that. You as me watching the game, I have somewhat of that thing. Okay, maybe they do make a comeback here, but it just didn't seem to work. Chiefs win 34-30. Let's look at some of the stats. The Chiefs dominate from the start, to really say the least. Mahomes went 31 of 42, 73.8 completion percentage, 385 yards, 9.2 was his average, 4 touchdowns, and a QBR rating of a 133.5. Elaire had 20 rushes for 64 yards, 3.2 was his average. Mahomes had 4 rushes, Hill 2 rushes, Thompson 2 rushes, Williams 2 rushes, Sherman 1 rush. Kelsey had 7 targets for 6 yards, or 7 targets, 6 receptions for 87 yards. McCole Hardman caught a touchdown. Tyreek Hill caught a touchdown. Anthony Sherman early on in the game had a little flip pass to him for their first score for 5 yards. He caught a touchdown. And then Fisher, their offensive lineman, this was an amazing play. He came in as an eligible receiver. Mahomes dropped back, and there goes Sherman in the corner of the end zone. Mahomes lofts it right to him for a touchdown. Last time I saw that was actually the Titans against... Oh, by the way, that brings it up. The Titans have a COVID outbreak. So, that just made me think of it. I was going to say that in the beginning of the podcast, but I got so caught up in talking about the baseball. The Titans, they have a COVID outbreak. So, I don't know. I might talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, they have a COVID outbreak. So the Titans have an outbreak. They have 3 cases, I think. They're shutting down practice for this week. So are the Vikings. I think the Vikings are in quarantine. But this is the first real, and this isn't something you want to happen, but this is something, when it happens, you want to see what the NFL does, right? The MLB, first time they handled it horribly. The second and third and fourth times they did very, very well. The first two outbreaks, the Cardinals and the Marlins and the Cardinals, they handled them horribly. But the final couple of outbreaks, the Mets, the Reds, the Giants, they handled those amazing, and they were back on the field in 4 days. So, not that we want to see this happen. This is also kind of something for the NFL to test, because now you look, okay, now this is like the NFL, and I was talking so highly. The first 3 weeks of the season, they were doing so well. Amazing. No positive case. I mean, there was one on the Falcons, but the Falcons players weren't affected. They were doing well. All the stuff was good. Now this is your first bump, and this was expected. We kind of jumped on a little bit of the bandwagon that this season is going to be so successful, but now that's not the case. But this is going to probably happen. But the Titans now, they have to make sure they do all the protocols, and we'll see what the NFL does. Do they handle this well? Here's the whole thing, though. Now what happens to the Titans? Because supposedly the practice is done for the week, so you can't not have them You can't have them not practice the whole week and then expect them to go out on Sunday and play a game. So, more than likely, Titans won't play on Sunday, which I don't know who they were going to play, but more than likely they won't play. So, maybe they will, but I just don't foresee, if you don't practice Monday through Friday or Saturday, you can't all of a sudden expect them to go out on Sunday and win a game with no practice. So, I don't really know, but that's made me thinking of it because the Chiefs did this yesterday and the Titans did it against the Chiefs last year in the AFC Championship game, so it just made me think of it. Butker went 0 for 1 field goals, 4 for 5 extra points. He had 4 points in total. He scored for the team. Some of the defense plays. There was a couple nice sacks. Frank Clark had a nice sack. Chris Jones had a big game. He actually forced a fumble on Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure they recovered it as well. He had a big game. He had 2 sacks, and Nemian had 1 sack. So the defense stepped up for Kansas City. That was something I was surprised. The defense stepped up, and that's the truth. The defense did step up for Kansas City. They were able to really get pressure, and a defense like the Ravens, they were not able to step up. Calais Campbell, players like that up front, they were not, Judon, they were not able to step up, which is kind of surprising, but the Chiefs played well. Jackson went 15 of 28, 53.6, 97 yards, 3.5 was average, 1 touchdown, 4 sacks. His QBR was 73.1. He really struggled. The reason I won in fantasy was because of that. Rushing, he didn't do anything special either. He had 83 yards. Gus Edwards, 39 yards. Ingram, 30 yards. J.K. Dobbins, 6 yards. Dobbins had 4 catches. Andrews had 3 catches. He got targeted 8 times. He had a couple really bad drops, including that one I said earlier in the end zone. He had a couple bad drops. He only got the ball. He got targeted 8 times. He only had 3 receptions. And then you obviously have touchdown. Boyle got a touchdown. So this is definitely a time for, I think, them to get better. Boyle got a touchdown, and there's a kick return as well. Duvernay, he got a 2 kick return, 59.5. He got a punt return. He had a touchdown, so he got a touchdown. So that was the other touchdown. So technically, the Chiefs only scored 1 offensive touchdown. So technically, you take out that punt return, if they win, they lose 34-13, which is even more embarrassing. You take out that punt return, 34-13. So, yeah. So, anyway, the Ravens played bad. There's no other real way of saying it. They played bad. The Chiefs played well, and now the Chiefs are 3-0. Ravens are 2-1. So, I know a lot of people expected the Chiefs. As a matter of fact, I can look on here. Yeah, 51. Oh, see, on this site I have is 51% picked the Chiefs. Although they could have did that. I don't know. Yeah, so the Chiefs won. The Chiefs won. They won, and they moved to 3-0 on the season. I mean, I want to just say something here, too. You look at these numbers. Look, like the Chiefs dominated them in almost every category except 2. Okay, look, they beat them in first downs. They beat them in third down efficiency. They beat them in fourth down efficiency. Or actually, that was tied because they neither got it. They beat them in total yards, total pass. They beat them in passing yards. Did not beat them in rushing yards. Beat them in total plays. Beat them in completion attempts. Beat them in total rushes. Beat them in tied for turnovers. They beat them in sacks. Beat them in sack yards. Beat them in penalties, and time of possession, they beat them as well. So, it's kind of funny, like, they dominated. Like, to say the very least, they dominated. There's not really much other way of saying it than they dominated. So, and they beat them in almost every single category of the stat you could look at. So, they did dominate. So, you know, like I said, I think the Chiefs just came and were ready to play. I think the Chiefs came ready to play, and I don't think the Ravens really did. So, now we move on to the fantasy. So I'm 1-2 in my one league, 2-1 in my other league, which is kind of surprising because I was not expecting to be 2-1 in my other league, but I am. So last night I won 124 to 122 in my one league. That's 2 straight wins. In my other league, I lost 129, 116. Though this week in my other league, hopefully I could turn around. So in my one league, yesterday I had Tyreek Hill going, and Tyreek Hill got me 15 points, and Jackson got him 13 points. So that's why I beat him by 2. So Jackson got him 13 points, Tyreek Hill got me 15, beat him by 2, 124, 122. Really, really, really good game. It was tied 109, and I beat him by 2. So big game for him, or big game for Hill, I mean, not for my opponent. Big game for Hill. I needed that. I said I needed him to get me like 15, 20 in order to compete with Jackson, and he did. Got a touchdown. I was very excited when he got that touchdown. So I win in that league this week. So far, I've got Watson, Drake, Robinson, Hill, Evans, Allen, Henry, Hilton, Steelers defense, Matt Prater playing. Oh, that could very well change. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 moves I'm making. I'm acquiring Rams defense and dropping Broncos. I know Broncos are playing the Jets, but I believe the Rams are going to do really well. Just trying to look for some trades as well because I do need another receiver. I do need another receiver on my team. I am going to need another receiver on my team as my team is T.Y. Hilton's really struggling. This is the final standings. Let's see, what are the final standings? So I'm still, okay, I don't think it's fixed yet. Yeah, so at the moment, I'm tied for first in my league, and then the other 2 players are in third. So I'm 2-1 right now. I play a player who is 1-2 this week, and I'm projected so far to win. Am I projected to win? I'm projected to win right now, but I have not made any changes, and neither have they. So I also have to make some changes because I'm taking out Pittsburgh defense. Probably won't start T.Y. Hilton, and may not start Deshaun Watson. Well, who knows if they're going to play, though, because now the Vikings might be affected. So this is a big week for me to win because my next week's opponent, not after this week, my next week's opponent's 3-0. So if they could very well be 4-0. So I do need this week. This week would be a huge win if I could go 3-1. So that would be great. So I win. Big win there. 3-1 now. And now we move on to my other league who I'm 1-2. But not too concerned about it. I think I will be able to get better. Just Butker did not do good for me last week. So there's not much other things I could say other than he just struggled. So this is kind of what I got this week. I got Rodgers, Elliott, Carson, Adams, Schuster, Kittle, Gurley, Bills defense, and Butker. And then my waiver claims, I'm also adding Rams defense in this league as well. My 3 questionables are Carson, Adams, and Kittle. So hopefully I can get better in that league as well because that league, some good teams. Both leagues are some good teams, but both leagues I would much rather after this week one league be at 500, the other league be at above 500. So that's my whole goal. I hope to go undefeated every season, obviously. So Fantasy. So 2-1. I'm 3-3 overall. I'm at 500 for both leagues combined. No, I can't be. I'm not 3-3 overall. I'm 4-4 overall. Because 2-1. Yeah, I'm 3-3 overall. So, or 4-4 overall right now. 3-4 overall because I have 3 losses, 2-1, 1-2. So that's 3 losses, 3-3. But I've played 6 games. So yeah, I'm 3-3 overall. I'm for 3-3 overall in both leagues. So I'm 2-1 in one league, 1-2 in the other. That's 3-3 overall. So I'm sitting at 500 combined for both leagues, which is not crazy good, but it isn't crazy bad. It's average. It's 500, so it's average. I don't like to be at that position. After this week, I would love to be 5-3. Get 2 wins. I would love to be that after this week. That would be nice. But I don't know. So, I do try to keep track of both leagues to see how I completely did. But, some league, like a couple years ago, I was in a league, and I was like 12-3 in that league, and I was like 7-5 in the other league. So, it made my record seem average. But, yeah, I don't think I had a league that year. But yeah, the one year I went 12-3. I know I've had a couple successful fantasy years. The past 2 years for me have not been crazy successful. Last year was not crazy successful. I came third in the one league. I'm pretty sure I came third in the one league. And then last year I think I came fourth in my other league, or fourth or fifth. Not crazy successful last year. Last year in my one league, I went 3-0. I started off 3-0, then I lost like 5 straight. I just don't know what happened. My team was booming 3-0. I was projected to finish first. Literally, I was crushing teams, too. I was dominating. I was literally, just absolutely dominating. I was just, beating people. It wasn't close. It was, beating them by, 30, 40. My team was putting up, 140 a week. And all of a sudden, the next, 5 weeks of the season, they were only putting up, 90. It's like my team fell off the face of the earth. I don't think I made the playoffs in that league either, because I think I ended up finishing, 5 and, 7, I think. I think I finished under 500. Just because I just couldn't get back on the right track. It was so weird. But this year I'm 2-1, so hopefully I could be 3-1. The next week hopefully I could be 4-1. Obviously my whole goal is to go finish the season with only 1 loss now because I already have a loss. So should be fun. I'm excited to see what happens. Both leagues hopefully I win in. Now is the time to run through all of the playoffs. So I do have my bracket here. I have my bracket here. It's very, I know it's pretty, you probably can't even see it. You probably can't see it, but I have my bracket. I don't know if you could see it. I probably should not show that because it's going to spoil it. But yeah, so I have my bracket here. Let me get this up. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's see. Boom. Alrighty, so these are all the games today. So we have the Yankees, Indians, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Astros, Twins, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. White Sox, Athletics, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the Blue Jays, Rays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let me tell you the schedules for each game. So Yankees, Indians is on ESPN. Astros, Twins is on ABC. White Sox, A's is on ESPN. And the Blue Jays, Rays is on TBS. So those are your schedules, TVs, and all that for both those games. Or for all those games. So there's 4 games today. Yankees, Indians, Astros, Twins, White Sox, A's, Rays, Blue Jays. So those are the 4 games today. And then tomorrow I'll preview more of them tomorrow. So now, this is the time I've been waiting for. Like I said, at the beginning of I feel like it was just yesterday that I was doing my special opening day pod. And I was so excited to see the Yankees play, Cole's first start, and now we're already talking about the playoffs. It is pretty crazy. So, this is the start of the MLB playoffs. A playoffs unlike any other. There will be no fans. I could just picture if this was a normal playoff, I could just picture the Yankee Stadium if they were home, absolutely rocking, absolutely dominating, absolutely just being incredibly loud. If they were home, I could just picture that being crazy. That is not the case. Even if they were home, though, they wouldn't have any fans in attendance. So either way, there is no fans in attendance. But it still is good to get home field advantage, even though home field advantage really isn't a thing with sports during an era of a during an era with a virus. There really is no such thing as home field advantage, but it is still good. Some players too, and you ask them, some players it's just the feeling of being at home, right? These players aren't going back to their homes; they're going to be in hotels and stuff. But still, you get what I'm saying. Like, it's just the feeling of being at home. Just players just like to be at home. Sometimes too, you know the dimensions of the field better. Like home field advantage is more than just having the crowd on your side, especially in baseball, because the dimensions of the field, like, you don't understand. Outfielders, like, some of them have like the dimensions in their heads, and sometimes they know when they're about to hit the wall. Other fields, they sometimes don't know that. So it is still, like, especially the dimensions of the field, still you do, sometimes you still do know, you still do like to have home field advantage. And just as a fan, too, I would rather watch a game at Yankee Stadium than the Yankees be on the road. But it is what it is. Yankees were not able to get that. We weren't able to get that. So, this is the Yankees schedule kind of thing. So, this is it. So the Yankees, if they win this series, they will move on and play in San Diego. Then if they win the ALDS, they will move on and play in San Diego, and then again in San Diego, and then Arlington would be the World Series. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty, I'm fine with that. But, yeah, so it should be exciting. I'm really excited to see what happens with the whole MLB playoff thing. I think it's going to look cool. I want to see what it looks like. Especially, in the stadiums and stuff. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see if, for example, like San Diego Stadium, I want to see if you noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you notice, like, AL teams are going to be playing in National League stadiums, and National League teams are going to be playing in American League stadiums. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think they're doing that so then there's no advantage. If you look at it, Yankees are playing in San Diego, and the Padres are playing in Arlington. So Padres aren't playing in their home stadium. Neither is, like, Los Angeles, I think, is the Dodger Stadium. Dodgers aren't going to be. Dodgers will be playing at Dodger Stadium. But I think Los Angeles is the Dodger Stadium. I don't think that's the Angel Stadium. So, yeah. So, if you notice how they did it was Arlington will be home to both, stadium. Will be home to both teams. But if you notice how they did American League stadiums for the East Coast and the National League stadiums for ALDS is National League stadiums, the NL is playing in American League stadiums, and the AL is playing in National League stadiums. Dodgers, Padres, and then the World Series will be in Arlington. The National League, Rangers, and the Astros. So, yeah. So, pretty sure. Yeah. So, anyway. So, with all that being said, let's get into the playoff bracket. So, here we go. So, I'm going to kind of tell you straight up before I start. You probably do disagree with some of you. Some of you may, I already know some of you probably do agree because I already know. But there's also probably some of you that do disagree with my bracket. I'm doing this bracket off of what I've seen in the past and what could be is what I'm doing off of this bracket. I'm not going off of this bracket. I'm not just purposely doing. This is a bracket that, yeah, I don't want to spoil it because I'm going to spoil it. All I'm going to say is this is a bracket that I'm doing off of what could be. If this team gets hot at the right time, it could turn into this. That's all I'm going to say, okay? That's all I'm going to say. We're going to leave it at that, all right? So, here we go. So, let's start it off with Game 1, the Rays and the Blue Jays today. So, Rays and the Blue Jays. So, I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win the series, not who's going to. I will tell you also who I think is going to win today, but I'll tell you who's going to win the series. I think the Rays are going to win the series. I think that's kind of obvious. I think that's, I think it's a little, I don't think it's smart to say that the Rays aren't going to win. I think the Rays are going to win. You can make the argument they're the best team in baseball. Tyler Glasnow, Charlie Morton, players like that on their team are just, they're a very good team. Power hitting team, good pitching, good hitting, good fielding, all around a well-rounded team. The Blue Jays, I'm not saying they aren't that. The Blue Jays just I don't think, have the hitting and the pitching. Their hitting is pretty good. Their pitching is like average players. I don't think their pitching is anything crazy. If Hyun-Jung Ryu can catch fire, maybe. But I see the Rays winning the series pretty easy. I think the Rays could very well be done with the series in 2 games. So this will be definitely interesting, but I do think the Rays win. Next up, we got the Yankees, and actually, I'm going to skip that, and I'll preview that in a little bit. Next up, we got I'll just talk about it. So next up, we got the Yankees and the Indians. This is going to be a good series. I think it's going to be a good series. I could very well see the series going to 3 games. I hope that it's not. I hope the Yankees can just quickly get done with it in 2 games. That's my hope. But I could very well see it. I think both these teams are very even, and I think that's clear for a lot of people, right? Is the Rays. So right now I have the Rays in the second round. So the winner of this will go and play the Rays. And I think this is kind of obvious. If you notice, like, the Yankees and the Indians are almost the exact same. They're almost the exact same. It's almost like if both teams would look at themselves in a mirror, you're getting back the same exact thing. It's almost the same exact thing. They both have that one star pitcher, Garrett Cole, Shane Bieber. They both have that one really, 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 really good hitter. That's for the Yankees. That's either LeMahieu or Voit, and the Indians have many. I mean, both teams have very good hitting. What I noticed that's very good out of both of these teams is they have the one star pitcher. That's what I think really identicals. Indians have good hitters, Lindor and all them. Indians have good hitters, and so do the Yankees. I think what really goes to show you how good these teams are is their pitchers. Yankees have one-star pitcher in Garrett Cole. Indians have one-star pitcher in Shane Bieber. They're going at it tonight in Game 1. Should be a lot of fun. The reason I think the Yankees will win this series. I think they'll win this series is because in the past they've beaten the Indians. And I just think the Yankees in the playoffs sometimes there's a different feel. If Judge and Stan can catch fire like they did in the beginning of the season, Shane Bieber could be very well out of there in a little bit. I think the key to the Yankees winning the series is Game 1. In a 3-game series, you don't really want to fall behind Game 1. It's not that it's bad, but, you have less games to make up. That means all of a sudden, like Game 1, now the next game's an elimination game. Right? Unlike a 5-game series, okay, you lose Game 1, all right, not the end of the world. Okay, not the. I mean, it's bad, but it's not to the point. Like you lose Game 1, all of a sudden the Yankees, they're tomorrow's elimination game. Like the loser of the Yankees Indians game, like the loser of any of these wild card games, tomorrow's an elimination game. So like there you go. Like right, Game 1's important. So I think that's what's big too. And tomorrow Tanaka could very well be on the mound. And Tanaka is just something different in the playoffs. And I've said this multiple times. I don't like him in the regular season. I don't think he's all that good pitcher. But in the playoffs, he is just unbelievable. You can make the argument he's one of the best playoff pitchers in all the league. For that reason, I have the Yankees winning the series. Next up, we got the Twins and the Astros. So for the ALDS, it's set up Yankees and the Rays. Next up, we got the Twins and the Astros. You look at it and it's the truth. From the Astros when they were cheating, their averages were pretty much all in the 300s. You look at the averages now, Altuve's average is down, Bregman's down, Correa's down, Springer's down. Every average on that team is down since the cheating incident. This is an Astros team that can't win a World Series without cheating. You heard it here first. They go on and win it? Okay, prove us all wrong. You heard it here first. This is a team that barely clinched a playoff spot. This is a team that is not there. They are not the same without cheating. They lose to the Minnesota Twins, and they do not move on to the second round. And now, it really goes to show you that the Astros cannot win a World Series without cheating. These batting averages are down. They're not as good as they were. They're not the 1 seed. They're not the team to beat. They are the normal Houston Astros, and it's really bad that it is really bad. It shows you. I mean, like, without cheating, they're not very good this season. Without cheating, they're not very good this season. So it really is bad. You wonder if they don't cheat, would they've gotten all those World Series victories? We don't know. But I think the Twins win the series. Twins got good hitters. They've got good pitchers, good fielders. They're a good fielding team. Got a lot of good outfielders. Got a lot of good infielders. They've had a couple of big moments and this is a younger team that knows how to step up in big moments. This is a team that's the last couple of years have been kind of underrated. Now they've finally grown to the point where a lot of people are talking about them. This is a Twins team that wins, and they beat the Astros. Now we have the A's and the White Sox. It's going to be a good series. I actually think this could probably, out of all these series, I think this will probably go to Game 7. I know you might be thinking that it's a 7 seed versus a 2 seed. I understand, but have you seen the White Sox play? I know they just squeaked into the playoffs, but have you seen them play? Have you seen them play? This is a White Sox team. Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson, Lucas Giolito on the pitching. This is a White Sox team that at times look like they could very well be a contender. I know this might sound crazy because I'm talking about the White Sox, and I actually find myself pretty crazy for saying this. This is a White Sox team that they might be tough to stop. They may be tough to stop. I think the A's win this series, and the only reason I think that is because I think they have the slightest edge at hitting. I think they have the slightest edge. I know the White Sox the bats have been insane. I understand their pitching. They have Lucas Giolito, their pitcher, pitched a no-hitter. He was the first one in 2020. I understand that, but the Astros, I think this is what this series could very well come down to, and this is why I actually have the A's. The A's have the most walk-off, I think, home runs or walk-off hits this season. I think this series is going to come down to a lot of big moments. 7th, 8th, 9th inning, bases loaded, guy comes up at bat. I think this game is going to come down to a Game 3. I think it's going to go to a Game 3. And I think this is going to be a game where a player is going to step up at the plate in a big moment in the game. A big moment in the game. And I think that's what propels the A's over the White Sox here. Is I think the A's have slightly better hitters in those biggest moments, and they've been big in those big moments already this year. And I think that's what this series is going to come down to. Late innings, guy on base, tie game, hitter comes up, they know what they have to do. I think the A's win the series. So this is the ALDS this is what I think the ALDS will be. Yankees, Rays, Twins, A's. We'll come to that. We'll go to that after we move now to the NL. So the NLDS, let's start off. Dodgers, Brewers. This is the first wild card game. To be honest, I don't foresee the Dodgers losing this series. I know that might sound crazy. I really just don't foresee the Dodgers losing the series. I think it's going to be very difficult for the Dodgers to lose. The Brewers have not looked good this season. Yelich has not looked Yelich. They just have not looked like the same Brewers. They barely got in. They got in on the last day of the regular season. Unless they somehow magically turn something around, this is a Brewers team that barely squeaked in the playoffs. I think the Dodgers roll over the Brewers pretty easily. I think they win into 2 quick games. I think Bellinger, Turner, pitchers like Kershaw. Kershaw's been struggling in the playoffs, but if he can really turn it around, I think this is a pretty simple series for the Dodgers to win. I don't foresee the Dodgers losing the series. I think the Brewers are probably the worst team. This is probably the worst team. Not bad. I mean, they made the playoffs, but this is one of these teams that barely slipped in that, you know, if we're talking not 16-team playoff, they wouldn't have made it. So I think the Brewers are probably the worst team in the playoffs. I'm not saying that's bad. At least they made the playoffs, but out of all these teams, I think the Brewers are probably the worst. I don't foresee the Dodgers slipping up here. I think the Dodgers easily roll over them, and they win in the quick 2 games. They move to the NLDS. Next up, we got the Cardinals and the Padres. Okay, this is going to be an interesting series. I actually see the Padres roll. I actually see the Padres winning the series. 2 things. The bats of the Padres, they have a good pitcher in Paddock. The bats of the Padres is just, I think they could be very well one of the best hitting teams in baseball, if not the best hitting team in baseball, based on what we have seen out of Fernando Tatis Jr. I know how much I bash Machado on this show, but Machado hasn't been bad either. He's been very good. Hosmer, they've overall as a team just been solid hitting team. Will Myers, their hitting is just unbelievable. You saw them, they have 4 straight games of grand slams. You saw what they can do with their bats. It is ridiculous. They are insane when it comes to hitting. They've been playing so well. The Padres, to finish off the season, to begin the season, they were playing very well. And I think the Padres win the series. I think the Cardinals are good. They have good pitching. I think the pitching is the strength of that team. You have Flaherty, Wainwright. That's the strength of that team. I just don't know if the hitting's going to be able to keep up with the Padres, and I think the Padres defeat the Cardinals here. Not easily. I think they'll sweep them. I don't think it's going to be like I don't think they're going to crush them, but I do think the Padres will win. I think they'll sweep them. I think this will be pretty easy. Not crazy easy like what I think the Dodgers Brewers will be, but I do foresee the Padres winning the series. So Padres advance. Now we move on to the Cubs Marlins. The Marlins got a pretty high seed. They're the 6th seed against the Chicago Cubs team with good pitchers. The Cubs team's good pitchers. What really hurts the Marlins here is on the last day of the season, Jose Urena, who is their star pitcher, probably their number 1, I'm pretty sure, fractured his arm on a pitch. I don't think he'll be ready for the playoffs, and I don't foresee them now really winning the series. Not that I saw them winning it at all, but I think the Cubs win this series pretty easily. I think the Cardinals, the Marlins pitchers are decent. Their hitting's decent. I think the Marlins are one of these teams that just squeaked in. I think it's also because of pretty weak NL East. Outside of the Braves, you're talking the Marlins, who are pretty good, nothing special. And you have the Mets and the Nationals, and in the Phillies, obviously, who whiffed at the playoffs. I think this is the team who, it's pretty crazy. I just don't really know. You're talking about a Phillies team who absolutely just completely whiffed at the playoffs. And then you're talking about, the Phillies, the Phillies were expected to make the playoffs, and then you're talking about a Marlins team who just barely slipped in. I think the Cubs win this series. I think hitting and pitching takes over. Now we have the moves on to the Braves and the Reds. I actually think this might be an interesting series. I actually think the A's White Sox series will be good, and so will this Reds Braves series. I think both are going to be good series. I know it might sound crazy because this is, you're talking about the 7-2 matchups here. You're talking about the 7 seed versus the 2 seed. But, have you seen the Reds? The Reds have the potential NL Cy Young winner in Trevor Bauer. They have a good hitter in Castellanos. They have a very good hitter in Mike Moustakas, Joey Votto. They have very, 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 very good hitters. They've looked very good. They've looked like a good team, a very good team. Jesse Winker in the outfield. They've had a very solid year. Their pitching's good. Sonny Gray's been dominant with them. So is Trevor Bauer. I actually think this series is going to be interesting. And the Braves' weakness is their pitching. And the Reds, the Reds' strength is their hitting as well. So I actually think this will be an interesting series. I think the Braves win, but I do think this is a 3-game series. I think it's going to be a close series. I think the A's, White Sox, and the Reds, Braves actually might be the 2 very good series. Because I think the A's, White Sox, the A's' strength is their hitting. White Sox' strength is their hitting, but both teams' weaknesses is probably their pitching. White Sox have one very good pitcher. Their other pitchers are pretty good. Braves' weakness is hitting. The Braves' weakness is pitching, but their hitting is their strength, but they're also going up against very good pitchers, so that's kind of the balance there. I think the Braves will win. I think the Browns will win. But I think the Browns will win, or the Braves will win. My bad, I don't know why I said the Browns. I think the Braves will win, but I think it's gonna be a very close series. So now we have the Cubs and the Braves. So this is the NLDS, Dodgers, Padres, Cubs, Braves. So now we move on to the ALDS. By the way, we just got news here that the Denver Broncos will start Brett Rypien against the Jets. No clue who that is. He's going to get the start. So that's interesting. So here we go. So we got the ALDS. We start off with the Rays and the Yankees. Now I'm going to tell you straight up. This is not a pick of bias. I'm not being biased when I make this pick. I don't like when people be biased in sports or biased in anything. I'm not being biased when I make this pick. I'm being what could be. I'm thinking of what could be. Okay? I think the Yankees pull out this series. I think this series could very well go to 5 games. Or I think this series could very well go to, multiple games. Or however many games. Right? Here's my deal with this game. Here's my deal with this series, right? I know the Rays have dominated the Yankees all year. I know they have. I get it. I understand. But here's the thing, right? They caught the Yankees when they beat the Yankees, they caught them at bad times. And I'm not trying to back up the Yankees here. They played horrible against the Rays. They beat the Yankees when the Yankees were struggling. They were beating the Yankees when they were in that time of a lot of people think they might not even make the playoffs. I think if they would have played the Yankees early in the season, I know they did, but if they would have played the Yankees the first 5 games of the season, the Yankees would have dominated the Rays. And that's what I'm thinking what could be. And a lot of people have said this all week. If the Yankees are anything like they were the first week or 2 of the season when they started off 8-1 and everybody was talking how they could possibly be a 40-win team, when everybody was talking about that, I understand. I get it. That we hope that that's going to be the case. I actually think that very well could be the case in the postseason. And here's my deal. Right? I think the Yankees win this series. I know this might sound biased, and I understand. I'm not trying to be biased. I know you probably think I am, so I'm not being biased. I'm just trying to think of what could be. You look at the numbers, and everybody have said this. If the Yankees if Stan and Judge stay healthy and they're like they were in the beginning of the season, this is a team that people are talking about the best team in baseball. The best team in baseball is supposed to win the World Series, right? If the Yankees do that against some of the top pitchers in the league, it's good. I think the Yankees win the series. I think this series could very well go to the max amount of games. But I do think the Yankees win. I think their pitching propels late. I think it's going to be good. I personally think Tanaka's going to have another good postseason. I think Cole's going to be good. And I think the Yankees hitting might very well turn around because postseason baseball seems different. Postseason baseball is different, right? I think the Yankees win and move on to the ALCS. So now we move on to the Twins and the A's. This is going to be a good series. I think all these series are going to be good. I think the Twins win the series in the max amount of games. I think the Twins win the series in 5 games. I think they win the series easily. Not easily. I think the Twins win. Or the A's win. Sorry, the A's win. My bad. Sorry. I think this is one of these other series again that will help propel the A's. Sorry. So right now I have the Yankees in the ALCS. I think this is one of these series that will help propel the A's. I think it's going to go to the 5 games, and I think the A's late will win. Once again, right? Big moments, big bats all season long. I think that will continue into the playoffs. I think the A's win the series. Also, the Twins pitching is good, but I think the A's hitting is too good to not be able to really hit off of that Twins pitching. It's pretty good. They got a couple good pitchers here and there, but I think the Twins' real strength is their hitting. I think that's very, very obvious. And the A's' strength is their hitting. I think this might be actually a pretty high-scoring series because the A's have good pitchers, have decent pitchers, and so do the Twins. Nothing special. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think the A's propel late. Once again, all season long have been big bats, big runs, big plays late. I think that will happen again. I think this game will go to the full 5, and the A's move to the ALCS. So right now, the ALCS is set. I have the Yankees and the A's. Now we move on to the NLDS. Dodgers, Padres kick this one off. These two teams, strength pitching, strength hitting. Okay, I think it's going to be very, 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 very good series. I honestly was about to take the Padres in this series. I know that might sound crazy, but the Dodgers are so good. And that's why I'm taking the Dodgers here. I take the Dodgers in this series. I understand how good the Padres have been. I understand that. They've been dominant at times. Seem like they can honestly win it all at times. They've looked very good very, very good in most of the time. They've looked very, very good. To be honest, I think that the Dodgers will win. Here's my whole deal with it. I think the Dodgers will win. And I think that's because of inexperience. The Padres are they don't have much playoff experience. I know Machado does, and probably I think Hosmer does well, but Fernando Tatis Jr. does. A lot of these Padres players don't have much experience. Their manager does. I think some of these young guys, these young core guys, don't really have that true playoff experience. I think that might hurt them. Yes, there's no fans in attendance. Yes, that is, but something about playoff baseball, is different. There is something different about playoff baseball. It isn't your regular, we got a 7:00 game tonight. If we lose, it's not the end of the world, right? There is something about playoff baseball that is different. So I think the Dodgers win. I think they win because of experience, good head coach, good players, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, Seager. The pitching's dominant. They got good hitting. I think overall, late, I think their pitching propels. They win. I do think the series will go to 5 games as well. I think it's going to be a close series, and I think Dodgers win. So Dodgers move to the NLCS. Now we move to the Cubs and the Braves. This is going to be a good series. I think the Cubs are a good team. Chris Bryant, you got guys like that. Chris Bryant's have been good. Javier Baez, players like that. Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javier Baez, Kyle Hendricks pitching. They've got many good pitchers. They got many good hitters. They got a new manager in John Ross who has had experience playoff baseball as a player. Braves have Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna and players like that. Pretty decent pitching. Their pitching is their weakness. I think the Braves win the series. I think this series also could very well go to 5 games, and the reason I think this is because I think the Braves hitting will propel late. The Cubs pitching's good, but I think the Braves hitting is just insane. Acuna Jr. could very well, it could be 1-0 right after Acuna is batting, and that's bad. In the playoffs, when you put yourself in a 1-0 hole early, I think the Braves win this series. I know I just said how the Braves barely might beat the Reds, but I think they beat the Cubs. I think their hitting is good. Acuna, the amount of times he gets leadoff home runs is just crazy. You could very well be looking at the first 30 seconds in the game, you're already down 1-0. I think that's what really helps the Braves. When you're up in a playoff series, it's really big. I think the Braves last year too, it really frustrated that really bad loss last year in the playoffs. Against the Cardinals and stuff like that. I think they're really mad about that. I think they're going to come back strong and win this series. They move to the NLCS. So the NLCS is set. I have the Dodgers, Braves. So this is my Final Four. So it's the Yankees, A's, Dodgers, Braves. here we go. So, like I said, I'm not trying to be biased when I do this. I'm just saying what could be. Right? I think this could vary. I think the Yankees will turn it around. I do give the Yankees the win, and I do have the Yankees heading to the World Series. And the reason I say that is because the Yankees, I understand, and I totally get it. We've struggled in the regular season. You know, we finished 33-27, nothing like what we really expected. We only finished 6 games above 500. It wasn't anything a lot of people expected. I understand that. But here's my deal with the Yankees, right? Judge, Stan are back. Playoff baseball. Judge is good in the playoffs. Stan's been pretty good, right? We also are benching Sanchez. Sanchez, bad hitter. Higgy, good hitter. You add him into the lineup all of a sudden. Now, that's an extra hitter right there. You know, Sanchez was almost an automatic out. Now you had Higgy. Now it's a good move, right? And I think the Yankees win the series because I do think, especially if we make the ALCS, I do think if we're going to make the ALCS, Judge and Stanton are going to be hot. And I think in my terms here, I think Judge and Stanton are going to be hot. And I think Judge and Stanton will be hot. And I also think that Judge and Stanton will be hot by now. So I think the Yankees win the series is what I'm trying to say, what this boils down to. I think the Yankees win the series. I think pitching for the A's isn't very good. And I think for the Yankees, their pitching is very good. Could be very good at times in the playoffs. Tanaka, Cole, right? And they're hitting very good against a not great pitching. I think the Yankees win. So I have the Yankees going to the World Series. Here we go. Dodgers, Braves. I have the Dodgers winning the series. I understand. I know I just said so much about how it's going to be a tough series against the Padres. I think by now the Braves, I think it's going to be tough. I think the Braves by now, their pitching might be fried and their hitting's going to be still good. But I just think late, the Dodgers pitching and the Dodgers hitting will top the Braves. And the Dodgers head to the World Series. And this is what I had predicted in the beginning of it all. Yankees-Dodgers World Series. I give the Yankees the win. I know this might sound biased. I just give the Yankees. I just think at times the Yankees should just be so dominant. Especially if we have, you know, Judge and Stan hot and they're going and they're playing well. Especially if we have that, they could be dominant at times. So I think the Yankees win it all. Yankees are World Series champions. Hopefully that's the case. That's what I got there. So now we move on to our game. Now we move on to the Yankees and the Stanley Cup and the MLB playoff games. So the Yankees play today against the Indians. You already know. I already gave them a win. I think the Yankees win today. The Twins, Astros. I already kind of made my game picks. I have the Twins winning. White Sox, A's. I have the A's winning. And Rays, Blue Jays. I have the Rays winning. So go Yankees. Those are my game picks there. Now we move on to the Stanley Cup. The Tampa Bay Lightning are your winners. So Tampa Bay Lightning are your winners. They won it yesterday. They won it yesterday. I mean, they were dominant, to say the very least. They won it yesterday. It was a final score of 2-0. The Stars offense just didn't show up. Lightning did. They played well. 2-0 Lightning win, and they are champions. You know, in the bubble, they last in the bubble the longest. So the Tampa Bay Lightning are champions of the NHL. The NHL season is officially done, and Tampa Bay Lightning are champions. By the way, tonight Yankees Indians 7:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give the Yankees the win. Like I said, just so excited to see what happens with this Yankees team. Just so excited. Hopefully we can get the win. With all that being said, that will do it for the podcast today. Enjoy your day of baseball. Twins, Astros first, then A's, White Sox, then Rays, Blue Jays, and then Yankees, Indians. So go Yankees. Hopefully we win. Should be exciting. I'll have all the coverage of the recaps and all that tomorrow on the podcast. So should be exciting. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Enjoy your day of baseball. See you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for watching.